Hey, we're live. Thank you for being here. Let me just organize my stuff, make sure you can hear me well, and we'll get to it. Hopefully, the volume is okay. I don't know, sometimes StreamYard's a little crazy. So, pardon me if it's not perfect. Um, now, I did want to. Okay, good. So, now we can do this and have it here to the side. Thank you so much for being here. Gonna be just a casual, fun chat. I do have something I would like to share with you. So let's listen. I can hear myself. That's important. So yeah, I do have something I want to show you and share with you. I think the big idea is almost quality over quantity, but not necessarily the way you think. So we'll see. Hey Arham, hello yourself. Thank you for being here. Hey Dwayne, hope you're doing well. Thank you so much. Yeah, so we're gonna let people come in. In the meantime, let me just open this thing right here. Okay, so I'll just have like a slideshow. Um, share screen. I'm gonna share my window just so you see what I'm doing here. And yeah, we are good. So probably, yeah, that's good for now. Hey, Henny, hope you're doing well. By the way, yeah, I can show your comments finally. Hey, Henny. Hey, Vintage Zen Artistry, good morning from Pittsburgh. Hey, Isabel Demsky. Hey, Michigan here, 75-year-old artist. That's awesome. Hey, I'm going to try to pronounce it. So, Zbigniew, hopefully. Sorry about that. My mental faculties aren't that good at the moment anyway. So yeah, let's do this, by the way, too. I'm going to show the chat on the screen. There we go. Aram, hey, Liron, tell me something to sell my watercolor paintings. I'm a fine art student currently in final year. Yeah, I think a good focus for that stage is just to make connections, like make a lot of connections, meet other artists. Maybe through them you can get to some gallery owners. I think that would be like the best thing. That's probably what art school is for. That's the main thing. So I would focus on that as much as you focus on your art. It's probably really important right now to focus on that. Fuse blower, car surprise. Yeah, don't worry. Actually, there aren't a lot of cars in the examples I'm going to show you. There are some, but it's not even the subject matter that's important here. Hey, Peggy, hope you're doing well. Good morning from Georgia. Thank you. Hey, Arvind, afternoon from Manchester, UK. It's so cool, like everyone's a different time zone. Hey, Tembo Artwork, hope you're doing well. Isabel, live portraits at events. Is that's like an advice for selling art or something else? Josephine, hey, how are you doing? From Niagara, awesome. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate your support. Brenda, hey, hope you're doing well. From Australia. Cool. So let me just dive a bit into today's topic. And feel free to ask whatever. It could be on any topic. My hair is a mess. It really is bad. Let me help it. Um, but yeah. So I want to show you something interesting. So many painters struggle with like painting something good. Now, the thing is, if you think about your paper as a map, right? And there are different areas on this map, and everyone feels to me like they're obsessing over filling in the map, right? Painting everything they need to paint. Sometimes I find that I get much, much, much better results if I don't care as much about filling in the entire map, but I just allow myself to focus on a specific small area of the map and see how much I can make that look good, make that look better. And so with this car, I actually painted this one live, but the quality wasn't that good. It was a really bad, like, technical issue day. But like this shape here, this entire wash, I just kind of stuck to it for a long time and kept changing and adding and lifting and I wasn't really under pressure to move outside of it. That's the thing I want to show you through a lot of the paintings that are in this little slideshow. It really isn't about filling in the entire map, and I think it's a good analogy. I think it's more about allowing yourself to focus on an area in the map, making the most out of it. Let's read some more of your comments and then we'll continue. Hey, Sadia, I hope you're doing well. Hello from Bangladesh. Hey, Hussein, I just started watercolor. It's amazing. It's amazing. Color is amazing in general. Yeah, it's really great fun, especially if you're used to, I don't know if you are, but if you're used to doing sketches, just pencil or monochromatically, graphite, when you introduce paint, it just provides so many options. And especially with watercolor, it just gives you so much to do. You can let the paint do a lot of the work and just look at it. That's the big thing I talk about in some of my videos. Just look at it and see what it does. It's so fun. So yeah, and by the way, everyone, apologies for not streaming for a while. It's just Thursdays have been a challenge, and I just didn't feel right to do this. So I tried, making videos and just general content to fill in the blank, but it's nothing like streaming live. So I'm happy we're getting to finally do it. So this was actually a night scene. Everything is darker, but I haven't filled everything in. I haven't painted the street. That should be like a darker yellow. This is like a recycling trash can, like a large can for bottles, if I'm not mistaken. Barely any details there because I allowed myself to focus on this. And that's the gist of it. So let's maybe we can skip over. So this one I shared in a bunch of places, just a bunch of sketches I did of fruits and vegetables. These are not on the same piece of paper, even though it looks like it. If I recall, I just edited them together. It was, I scanned it, the white paper, it doesn't matter. I cut the shape and put it here. And again, if you look at something like this, there's so much grace and beauty in just devoting some time to a small area. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to go for a full scene of fruits and vegetables and still life arrangement. You can just kind of give some time to a specific spot and really make the most out of it, even if you're not sure what you want to do with it or you're really inexperienced. Even the person who paints for the first time with zero experience can explore. That's the thing. You can always explore and make new discoveries. Isabe, thanks for your clear lessons. You present well. I listen and don't just skip ahead. Awesome. That means the world to me because I never know. In some ways, my videos are very high bar of entry in a way because you can't really just listen often. Sometimes I try and make my videos listenable, but usually you have to kind of be there and look and be focused. And what this does is it's almost like, let me move this for a second. I want to fix the camera a bit. It's almost like going to the gym. It requires effort from you, and so I really appreciate anyone who actually listens and watches all the way through. Can't take it for granted because I also do this, but not always. Sometimes I don't have the patience necessarily to watch all the way through a tutorial or really, let's do this here, or really follow it or just apply it immediately. I don't always do that at all. So thank you. It's actually good for me to hear. Igor, hello from Ukraine. Awesome. Thank you for being here. Melody, hello from Central Texas. Messy hair over here too. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's Thursday. If we have hair by the end of the week, I guess that's an achievement in and of itself, right? Zoro P, hello, Liron from India. Thank you for being here. Cheryl, greetings, Liron, and fellow artists from Woodinville, Washington. I don't think I ever heard of this place. That's cool. I'm really, really not familiar with Washington. Laura, good morning, evening, everyone. Thank you for being here, Laura. Arham, keeping colors fresh on the paper is actually artistic. Yes, I mean, you could do a lot of things. You could go more neutral, not as, preserving of the colors. A lot of things can work. One advantage of kind of focusing on one area is it gives you time to fix the colors while it's still wet. Watercolor, while it's still wet, is really like the most magical spot you can be to continuously change and push it to look good. That's why allowing yourself to focus on one small area can be a big advantage and make things a lot more easy. Jitender says a love for India. Sadia, hi. Can you explore some ideas about how to paint lights in the night? Yeah, definitely. I did a recent video you want to check out with the highways and everything. But yeah, I use a combination of leaving highlights, leaving paper white, and also um, using opaque paint after the fact. I find that if you spray water after you place down opaque paint, it really spreads it out, and that's a cool effect. And you can preserve it quite nicely. But you'll notice that for the car I just presented you with, it's a night scene, but I interpreted it completely differently. So you can always just interpret things your way. You're never bound to the reference photo, and that's, I think, something big. Melody, we don't want streaming to be a burden or duty for you, Liron. Just share what feels right. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. That's why I haven't streamed. I don't want to force it. But today felt good. So yeah, felt good. It was possible with time, even though we do have something afterwards. So I'll have to finish up at around, I think, 4:30 max. 4:30 my time, which is in about an hour and 15 minutes. I hope to at some point start streaming in our mornings, which is around, probably will end up being around 11 p.m. US Eastern time, I think, and earlier if you're talking about West Coast. I think it's an interesting. I never catch the evening audience, so I would like to try that. Zoro OP. Hello, Liron. I'm doing watercolor for 2 years now, and whatever I do portraits in watercolor, I change the face. It's like 5 to 10% change in face before drawing to painting. Any tips? So does the change happen while drawing or while painting? Are you drawing accurately and then the paint kind of messes it up? I think 5 to 10% is not a lot. It's a small change. A lot of it has to do with just improving your perception of what you're painting. You can tackle it a lot of ways. One way that works for me a lot is to just ignore the fact that it's a face and paint it as abstractly as I can. Just look at the shapes I'm seeing. Another approach that I don't talk about a lot but can be very useful is to actually understand what you're seeing. So let me give you an example. If you understand that in this example, the bell pepper, right, light comes from the top, so this area is more well lit, this area is more dark, and then you know, okay, so this area should probably have a shadow and should be more muted, right? So knowledge can help. If you know, for example, there's a warm light source here, maybe this turns a bit yellow. But if it's a cool light source, maybe it turns a little purple, violety, or maybe something like this, like gray. So knowing can help. Let me see if a different one has knowing. Yeah, this has knowing too in it. So let's say you want to paint this shadow on the cat. Right towards the edges of the shadow, it just goes warm. Now, you might catch that just by observing. Same for the car here. You see the bottom, it's warm, then cool because it reflects the ground. You might catch that just by looking, or you might catch that by having the knowledge that that's how it works. So if you know that the point where the edge of the shadow is tends to let more of the light color seep in, thus making it a little warm because this is sunlight, you'll be able to paint it because you're able to see it, to understand it, sorry. So that's another thing. For example, you know the skin here is transparent, the light goes through the ear and it makes it like a nice little red. So in these cases, understanding can really help you draw and paint more accurately. If you understand the structure of the face, that can help too. And we'll have to look at some specific examples to really figure it out. But generally speaking, that's how it works for me. It's a combination of perception and knowledge/understanding. I hope that helps. And this is another good example of me allowing the section I'm working on to really guide me. By the way, there is a tutorial on that. I think it's about temperature. It is about temperatures, the video. I think it's in the title too. And what I did was, I believe I started with the cat and then I kind of worked my way outwards. But you see, this one has a lot of qualities that I really like about watercolor, like these like these flowy areas in between different areas, and that happened successfully because I allowed myself to make the most out of every area. So again, forget about filling in the entire paper or always worrying about something merging. Like you paint this shape and you're nervous that you're going to get a hard edge here, so you have to merge it with this shape, and it's a never ending cycle of, okay, so this shape and this shape and this shape, and you end up filling up the entire page. And you may be able to relate to this. You fill up the entire page and you end up with just a kind of lame first wash. And you weren't planning for a lame first wash. You were planning on exploring the details. But somehow you ended up with a first wash that's too light, that doesn't show the nuances enough. And the reason why is because you haven't allowed yourself to explore a spot until you're happy with it. So once again, instead of quantity, think about quality. Not quality necessarily like in the quality of the painting, but the quality of the section I'm currently working on. To me, this is huge. And when I'm able to really meditate into what I'm painting at the moment of painting, the result is always better. And it is a mental thing completely. It is completely here. It's a switch. Once it flips once, you'll feel it, it happened. And it makes everything so much better. Arham, I love how you express emotion through transparency and fluidity without relying on heavy detailing or outlining in watercolor. Yeah, that's my experience. Again, if you really develop an area, you don't need a lot of areas to be developed or to be there at all. You can just paint something in the middle of the page and it looks good in the context. Sanath, is anatomy important for figures, or can we just follow the reference? It's once again one of those things. It depends on how good you are at observation when you follow the reference and how big your ambition is to be accurate. 100%, if you also have anatomical knowledge with all the other factors stay the same, you will get a better result. And it could be that for you personally or anyone else, like personally, that's the switch they need to flip to get the result thereafter. It could be that the anatomy is what they're lacking. It could be not that. It could be something else, but it could very well be it. It's a very personal thing, and it's a matter of what inspires you and actually compels you to try it, to try and get something, Wally, thank you so much, Mateus. Thank you so much for the compliment. Really appreciate it. If I get you to paint, even if it's due to me being smoking hot, which I don't think I am, I achieved my goal. Thank you. That's you, by the way, in the photo. Are aliens here already? Tempo artwork. I've been thinking a lot about aliens and AI and a lot of things I shouldn't be thinking about. A lot of existential dread. Tempo artwork, we truly appreciate you sharing your time on live streams. Thanks. Yeah, thank you. And don't worry, like if I'm too tired or things don't work, I just don't do it. I don't force myself. So if I'm here, it's because I want to and enjoy it. So yeah. Don't worry about me. I do the work of worrying about me so you can enjoy. Alaf. Hi, Liron. Your courses have helped me understand a lot of techniques. Oh, that's cool. Very happy to hear. I'm still practicing everything I've learned. But could you share tips on how to get over the ugly stage? Because it often feels like it's not getting better. Yeah, so sometimes I no longer view it as an ugly stage. I kind of find a way to enjoy every stage. So imagine this is incomplete. By the way, look at this, right? This is not complete. But because someone else painted it and it's not you, you kind of are okay with it. This is incomplete too, by the way. What is that? I don't even know. This should be a mango, I think, but it still doesn't look like much. I think it's one of those things that are, again, totally subjective. And one thing that helps me if I keep making changes and things aren't working is I'll make a drastic change. So what helps with drastic changes, you can open up your reference photo and your own painting on like a computer screen, zoom out till it's like a tiny thumbnail. You can barely see the details, but you can see like the thing. You will 100% see the difference if you find the differences. and it will almost annoy you, because what happens is we get so stuck in like a specific detail, and we try and improve it and add and remove, and that's okay. If you have the vision, it will work, but if you're doing it out of frustration, you end up just not really making a significant enough change. That often happens. And then when you zoom out, you look at it and you realize I haven't made any progress. But then if you zoom out, then you realize, oh, it doesn't look good because all of this thing should be like double the darkness. And then you do that and it actually works. You almost sometimes have to be annoyed with how useless what you've been doing, the modifications you've been doing have been. It really helps. So yeah, that's kind of my advice for that. Now, one more thing that could help is to just set it aside, forget about it, move on to something else, remember about it in a couple of days, revisit a painting, and you'll either like what you're seeing. Like this painting, I didn't know immediately upon completing it what I think of it, but after like a day or two, I'm like, yeah, this is perfect. And not only is it perfect, like look at these cars here, just suggested wet and wet. I really like this kind of a thing. Even though the perspective is a little off, like these lines should be flat, not diagonal, unless it's at an angle, like the entire street is at an angle. Um, but yeah, so when you do something, especially if you do something that's so abstracted and so like just tons of shapes, like a car that I love painting, sometimes it's very easy to get into weeds and lose track of like, okay, all my darks are too light, right? And at this point, when you get almost angry with it, you find the solution usually. Sometimes the solution is to move on to a next painting and just forget about it too. That can happen. Sadia, that temperature video of the cat really helped me a lot. Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's one of those videos where I was sure it's going to get like 5 times the views it got. It got still more than average, which is good because I put a lot of effort into that one. But I think it could have done better. Maybe I should replace the thumbnail and title and see what happens, because people do that. It actually helps videos. But yeah, really appreciate it. You can read the cat's mood. That's funny. Let's see if I can. Yeah, it's like I'm enjoying the sunlight, right? Marjorie, good morning, all. Thank you, Liron, for thinking of a later hour to live chat. Later, I think this is earlier than my usual. Yeah, I should do this. Now you can see me. Maybe I'll catch you more often. Oh, you meant you meant my morning, so later your time. No, I got it. My confusion. Yeah. Definitely will do that. You mentioned plein air when painting the car of the day. How do you set up? Yeah, my plein air is a mess. I don't really have a process. I have an easel that you can find it in the links below, or just go to freewatercolor.com/gear, GEAR. You'll see it there. It's a mess. I have a palette that has a ring for the thumb so that I can hold it. I have an improvised water cup, but I should definitely improve my setup. So yeah. But cars do come naturally to me, even in plein air, more than other stuff, I love. Great, thank you. Yeah, you got it. Caged Crow, hi Liron, I love your painting style and the subjects you paint are unique. I love the students studying one. Okay, yeah, that's something perhaps we'll do again in the future. Thank you. Hey Silver, hello from Georgia, USA. So let's look at a bunch of others. Thank you for being here, Silver. So here's another example. I just took a screenshot from a video. These thumbnails. To me, this is so much fun, even if it's not developed, because it has the essence of it. And once it has the essence of it, it's not very hard, if you're able to do this, to then add some details. It really isn't that hard. Now, I did push it a bit further, if I'm not mistaken. I added some more details, but if you can do this and just have fun with it, it's just going to make everything look pretty. Again, simplicity and just quality of the thing you are painting is huge. This is a perfect example of when you take what I talked about so far to the extreme edge of quality, to me, this is what you get. And it was a bit of luck, a bit of, watercolor working with me. But this painting from beginning to end, I talked about it a lot, so I'm not going to stay too long on it. But even this car here, the way it's suggested is better than like 90% of my paintings. And the way things flow in a very controlled manner, like this tire completely flows out, but then here we do have a hard edge that's very clear. The tail lights, this, when you really focus on the current spot you're working on, these are the kinds of things you can achieve. And not every painting will be that. I've shown you many examples of paintings that I don't think are this good. But once in a while, you will get this. And it's fine that it's once in a while. Art is inconsistent. And, have been making it a lot more consistent. Out of all of my paintings, like a lot more are higher quality. But there's still going to be variance, just because that's what art is about. If there was no variance and if everything was super set in stone, it won't be art. It won't be as good. It just won't be as good. So just something to note. Now, was my message sent? Let me just check. I'm gonna mute myself for 1 second. Sorry about that. We're good to go. So yeah, let's not stay too long for too long on this one, because I've shown it like 100 times. But we'll get to this one too. Sadia, what's your advice for someone wanting to start plein airs? I tried twice and they came out really, really bad. No, that's good. That's very normal. That's very natural. I think, honestly, my advice would be to have fun. Just have fun. Plein air is, for one thing only, in my opinion, it's about removing any separation between you and the subject matter. When you paint in the studio, usually it's from a photo. So you're many layers removed from the thing you're painting. You don't feel it as well. And even if you paint from a still life arrangement, it's still, after some editing has been done mentally. Painting outside is about just fun, just connection with whatever it is you paint. That connection is not guaranteed to produce a good result. That's the beauty of it. Even if you go out, you feel like, wow, this is really cool, I want to paint this, you're definitely not guaranteed a good result. What you are guaranteed is a stronger, more direct connection with your subject matter. And that, with a bit of experience, can mature and blossom into better results. So it's a different type of painting. It's almost like starting from scratch, because it just works differently. But just like you improve your studio work, you also definitely do improve your plein air work. The difference is plein air ends up being more fun. Once you develop it more, it just ends up being more fun, to me at least. Because there's less of a separation between you and the subject matter. Now, you can get super lucky, like I've shown you. Even this one's a good example, or this one. It's not plein air. I painted it from a photo and it looks so alive, right? But I think with plein air, it can look even more alive. One thing I noticed is I see color nuances better plein air. Now, my supplies, I'm not even close to perfecting it. So I always have too small of a mixing area, and it's uncomfortable the way I stand. And so I end up not being able to execute upon what I'm seeing as well, but I am definitely seeing it better. So what I would say is use this as an opportunity to have fun, and whatever is on paper at the end of it is whatever you paint. It doesn't matter. But what matters is the process of just Zero separation. Nothing separates you in the reference photo. That's how I see plein air. It definitely leads to worse results. It's like trying to paint a different style or a different medium. It just leads to different results. Like you're starting from one again. You worked your way to a 4 or 5 of quality in whatever you do, then you go back to zero, and then to one, and then to two. That's just how it is. Um, I hope that makes sense. It's really so fun. I really want to do more. Hopefully soon. Isabella, thumbnails help. Not only do they help, it feels good. I enjoy them. Caged Crow. I used to be afraid. By the way, I love that you're painting that you're. Sorry for the yawn. I'm so tired all the time. It's okay. It's not extra tired now. I love that your profile pic is a crow. I used to be afraid I'd waste paint, but you teach how to apply it right. Thanks. Yeah, definitely. And when you paint like me and you like organic mixes that are just whatever's on the palette, you end up saving on materials. You can always use your leftovers to do monochromatic studies. You can use them for many things. Now, I'm quite lucky in that I've had so many brands and super kind followers here. By the way, thank you, Marjorie, and a bunch of other people here send me so much supplies, more than I know what to do with, and I'm just going through them. I'm going to use it all because I am painting a lot usually. Not lately. It's been a bit of a challenge. Just working on a lot of stuff, like real life stuff that has left me with very little time when I do work, and that is dedicated to a lot of other things, not just painting. But that will change soon enough. So so yeah, I'm so fortunate in that way because I have so many tubes here. I always have a color that I need or variation of it. Right, I ran out of neutral tint. I had lunar black here somewhere. I just took that, used that instead. So yeah, I'm fortunate in that way. But even if you actually go and buy your supplies, paint does last long. Unless you're really wasteful, a 15 milliliter tube is a lot. It's a good quantity. And you just need a couple when you get started. Laura, hi. I love your videos. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Laura. Isabe, 100%. Also, later, those plein airs are real feeling references. So true. One thing I will say about my plein airs, that even when I look at really old ones that were terrible, I still remember like the day and the feeling I had and the subject matter, and they always age better. I don't know how to explain it, but plein airs almost always age better. I've yet to see a plein air of mine that I thought was worse after a couple of years. I always think, oh my, it's much better. I don't know why. It's just something more real about it. Cage Crow, plein air is not a fresco. It's just outside in front of the reference directly. You could technically call, like, if I paint this computer mouse in front of me, you could technically call it plein air. But the original meaning of the word, if I'm not mistaken, it's from French. It's to actually paint outside. So just being outside and painting the scene, the landscape, the people, whatever it is, directly, observing it directly, not through photos, not through videos, not through your computer screen, not through your iPad screen, just directly there. And you can see a lot more nuances that way. Sadia, I love your organic paint style and keeping all the mixes. I've learned that from you, and oftentimes those colors inspire new paintings too. That's amazing. Yeah, that's and I think that's a lot of what you're seeing here. So this eggplant, for example, and you can see this painting process from a not that old of a video, maybe a couple of months ago. Again, it's a mess of lots of abstract shapes, but it does work well. Can I make no, I can't make it smaller. Well, I can make it smaller if I do this, probably. You see how it just has this nice quality to it? There's a nice variety, some smooth, hard edges, different colors. It's just a fun painting overall. And to me, I'll take this kind of a painting every day over a really stifled, slow, deliberate painting that takes like a glaze by glaze by glaze. It is true that sometimes I'll be in the mood for that, but that's after doing so many of looser paintings. Usually my go-to is a looser. How much can I get away with in one go? How many cool effects I can create just by drowning the paper with more and more paint and more colors. And the perfect example, I think, is actually oops, not this one, this one. This is a perfect example of just reworking this area more and more and more and more. I think it's a great example of that. So yeah, Marjorie, the connection I had with Plein Air was the color, the almost transparent layer of flowers, birds, even insects. A blackbird is not just black. Yes, so true. And even in photos, it's not just black, but it's so much easier to see in real life. When you look at a crow in real life, if you look at them up close, if you're fortunate enough, because it's a really cool animal. I'm obsessed with crows for some reason, or ravens, doesn't matter. I love them. If you look at the top, and it's like it's a relatively sunny day, you'll see the top of their feathers actually reflects the sky, making their feathers a little cooler black. It just happens. Now, we have a lot of crows or ravens, I'm not sure, I think crows, that have this gray patch. It's not really a crow technically, I'm not sure, it's like a subspecies or something like that. But even that, and that gray is actually a warm gray. But even that gray changes when it reflects the sky. And it's weird to think, like, okay, I get it. If I turn on like a blue projector over this eggplant, yes, it's going to make it blue. But even the sky projects a blue light. And that's what many miss. And I don't think I have ever said it as bluntly. Skies project blue light. You actually, this isn't just reflection. The light is blue from the sky. It is a reflection in this case, but when you look at something like this, definitely it just it's light coming from the sky, and it's a blue light. So that's something a lot of people miss. I did it also with my other eggplant. You can see a window through it, and it's blue. And even if it's a weak blue, right? This isn't like a strong blue. This is a really kind of, neutral blue. But it's still, you can see it, right? You can see it. So yeah, that's what I love so much about it. And that's why I used to do a lot of glazing. Cool. Yeah, because that can allow you to, I like the more immediate approach, but the glazing can allow you to see the transparency through the paint. Caged Crow, the bottles on the shelf backlit is a fun painting of yours too. I love it. Thank you. Yeah, that's a totally different example of something that was, and you know what, just for kicks, I can show you that too later, but maybe I have it here too. But that painting is, even for that painting, I got a lot of the success from focusing in on a small area and really losing myself in that. And that's again where that quality versus quantity aspect comes in. Because even for these kinds of paintings, there we go. I'll show it on the screen in a moment. You can make a decision to really zone in on an area and make the most out of it, whether it's like the top right, really orange yellow kind of square bottle. I can't point because you won't see me, or anything else. You can make the conscious decision to focus, or the unconscious decision, by the way, to just really allow an area's quality to shine. And I think that's the main point here. And again, for those who joined later, what I'm saying is, if you treat the canvas or paper as a map, you don't have to stress over filling in the entire map. Sometimes it's much more rewarding, not only useful, but also rewarding, to focus on the area you're currently working on in the map and making the most out of it and making it look good. So prioritizing that quality over the worry of having things merged together. This is, by the way, why still life or just a single fruit is such a good subject matter, because it constrains you to just focus on that. So if you compare this painting to this painting, right? This is way more complex because you have to worry about things and how they match together. Whereas with this, you just paint the eggplant, you focus on the shapes of the eggplant. You can add levels of complexity to it, don't get me wrong, of course. But generally speaking, it's just this. In whatever you do within this constrained area, you have more time to do, So yeah. So let's see how many more we have after this one, just so I know to pace it properly. Okay, good. We're about almost halfway through. So here's another one. We'll talk about that in a second. And thank you, by the way, Cage Skull. I'm so happy you like this painting. I love crows and ravens too. Yeah, I can tell. Burly stress. It's truly burly stress. Barely stressed here. I feel good. It's a fun name. I don't know if it's a real name, but if it is, it's a cool name. It's true. The feathers are a bit iridescent sometimes. I have hooded crows visiting my balcony every day. They have a gray and black. Their gray is also very varied and not flat. Yes, that's cool. Haven't thought of the iridescence thing, but yeah, that also adds another degree of variety to it. So the reason I'm sharing with you this painting is just, again, very immediate result, very crooked too. Like, this is just not an accurate drawing. That was the premise of the video, if I recall. But all of these cars were just made out of thin air, and whether you can tell it's cars or not, that's fine. But in the video, you can see this while it's still wet, it's way more juicy. And it is very much a matter of making the most out of a shape while it's still there and alive and wet. You can work with it, right? So yeah, the one we started with, I love the idea of just when I look at a painting to ask myself, what would happen if I, whatever, And someone did quote Joseph Zbukvich to me, and I am familiar with this quote of his. Like, so many paintings have been ruined by, if I just add this thing. And I think as for this to be taken as general advice is not a good thing, because to me that's what pushes my exploration. Now, is it true that if your painting is super messy to begin with and you keep adding more and more layers and more brush strokes, individual, you don't have clear large shapes, everything is off? Yes, you might destroy. A friend just sent a really funny message. I'll tell you later. I just sent it in a WhatsApp group. It's so funny. I'll tell you in a moment. So a lot of my paintings that ended up being like fantastic, it was about, hey, what would happen if I do this? What the curiosity does lead it. The curiosity of, if I do allow this edge to kind of blend into the environment, will I lose it completely? Will I be able to still control it? These things are the leading force of progress in your art. So yeah, what my friends said, they were talking about cars, and I have a very old car. I mean, it's not that old, but it's quite old. And a friend of mine is like, he just wrote that I have no idea what it's like to take the car to to for treatment, to the garage, whatever it is. Not garage, you take it to get some work done on it, because my car can drive on canola oil. He said it's okay. You don't need, it doesn't have any special requirements. It stood the test of time. It could probably run on canola oil. That made me laugh. That was a funny one. So yes, here's another one. So this one's incomplete, right? But I kind of like it in this state. Now, I will probably add some more to it at some point, or create a new, more polished version. I don't even remember the process I took to work on this. It was just a mess. But the funny thing is, even these kinds of paintings, again, if you kind of zoom out a bit, it does make sense. You can tell what you're looking at. Now, a lot of people will think this is destroyed as a painting. It's not. You can actually push this to be beautiful as a final result. You can. It doesn't mean you have to, right? You can decide to make a new one. It's easier for you, but this is just unfinished. You can fix everything. I think the nose is too big too. You can fix that. No problem. So just saying. Fuse blower. If you get the lights and shadows right, it hardly shows the backlights are not horizontally aligned. Yeah, that's true. That's true. My bad with this one, my mistake was that this opaque paint dried too dark. If it was still wet, you'd totally see that it's a straight shape. But I could just put this in Photoshop and skew it a bit and fix it, and then no one will see that it wasn't. One thing that sometimes works for me really well when I do decide to, again, make the most out of every area I'm working on is the colors, as we've mentioned earlier, like plein air. the colors are just better. I really like the colors here. It's a perfect combination of oranges and pinks and grays and reds. It just it looks good and it looks fresh and it looks like it flows, right? This one reminds me of a lot of old masters watercolors, not in the sense of like it's not as good a result, but their approach feels very messy to me and like of okay, I see a shape, I put it, I see a shape, I put it, and we just hope it connects in the end. um Even when they were methodical, a lot of it still was like doing the right thing and letting the thing build on its own. So I don't know, I really like this. You'll notice a lot of old watercolors were quite loose and messy. And I wasn't aiming for that here. That's the thing. If I were aiming for that, I'd probably not get it, but because I haven't aimed for it, I did. um Josephine, I plan air paint in a lot of parks and farms. Sometimes I get frustrated trying to differentiate one green from another. Yeah, sometimes it's more useful to think about these things in relative terms. So instead of figuring out like what's the true actual green I'm looking at here, I think, okay, does it feel like it gets warmer or colder or darker or lighter? And then I just go with that. So for example, you can tell it goes a little warmer, so I'll add a bit of yellow and red to the mix, and we'll kind of trust that the green that I had will translate to the color I'm actually seeing or something close. As long as the context is preserved, I'm happy enough with it often, especially in plein air where everything is kind of against you. The only thing that goes for you in plein air is the subject matter is right in front of you. But everything else, the weather, the wind, the sun, the people walking by, all sorts of weird interactions, bugs starting to land on your palette, trying to eat your paint because it has honey in it. All sorts of that was a very personal complaint of mine, but yeah. Um, Sadia, hey, will you show us? But yeah, maybe that can help, Josephine. Hey, will you show us your smallest and largest palette? If you have to choose a palette like Zorn palette, what will you choose? Um, I don't think the palette I choose has necessarily a name that I'm familiar with. Um, I really like some aspects of Alvaro Castanet's palette. I think it's very useful and versatile. Um, you get the easy to mix warms for buildings and cityscapes. He has this beautiful, strong teal kind of turquoise color that's very useful. That lilac-y opaque paint that's very useful for painting windows. Um, there is a Viridian green, which is very strong and unnatural, but if I recall, right, I think I remember the colors he has. But that mixes really well with the warm to create neutral greens too. So you can start very saturated and dumb it down better. But my ideal palette only has maybe 10 paints. I don't need much more when I think about it. A couple of blues, reds, and yellows that are useful. A black, a white, opaque white, preferably, and also a warm opaque white. So something like titanium white and something like Chinese white. I don't know. I'm not sure what the neutral white is. Permanent white. I'm not sure. Um, and maybe then like a strong turquoise for specialty colors. Like if I need a really bright sign or a really bright awning of a building, then I'd go with that. And that amounts to maybe 10 paints, right? 6 for the primaries maximum. That's how I would approach it. Now, my smallest and largest palette, I think my largest palette is just the one you see in all of my videos. It's simply this one. It's the Migello 18 Well palette. My smallest one, I'll have to dig in the boxes. I do have like a really tiny palette that someone sent me to review, and I did review it. A very cute palette with 6 colors, just primary colors. And the pens in it are half pens, or not double pens, just normal square. And there's only 6 of them. I hope that answers the question. I can do like a supply haul and actually bring some stuff to show you if you'd like in a future video. I just don't feel like getting up from the chair now. So lazy. No, and I'll have to dig through some boxes. Nia, how do surface textures like cold press versus hot press affect edge control in wet on wet technique? And what strategies can you use to counteract unwanted blooms or hard edges? So first off, regarding blooms or hard edges, I'm sure you'll find some here. Or in the, I'll tell you which one you'll find it for sure. You see all of these. So I get it. Sometimes they're unwanted, but sometimes it just looks good despite them being there. Just saying. So I'm saying this for those who painted something fantastic and just can't see it, because that happens sometimes. Now you might really not like it, and you might have really messed it up sometimes, and that makes sense too. So the main difference I noticed between hot press and cold press when it comes to, let's say, edge control, both require a lot of water to really smoothen out the edge. What happens at first, especially as a beginner, I used to do this all the time. I'd come back with a damp brush that I would think helps the paint move and smoothen out the edge. But what I was doing is extending the wash, and then another hard edge would be created. To really get an edge to blend, you need a somewhat wet brush, and to give it enough space to actually move the brush a bit and give it the room to spread out. With hot press paper, everything tends to pool on top of the paper. So you'd have a much, much, much easier time getting a smooth edge by first putting water on paper and then putting the paint where the water is, so that it blends out into the water, it flows. And you can tilt your paper to control the direction. With cold press paper, it's okay to not start by pre-wetting, but simply put wet paint down on paper. But you will need to use a lot of paint, as I mentioned earlier, to help this paint move and smoothen out. Okay, that's the key difference I found, because with hot press, it's much easier for it to dry uneven because more of the paint pools on top of the paper. And when the paint pools on top of the paper, parts of it start drying faster than others. And that leads to these cauliflowers, which is why it's easier, I find, to get cauliflowers on hot press paper. Now, it's easy to mess up the blending on cold press paper because you need even more water to move the paint, in my experience. That's where it's at. Now, blooms is a different story because that's a matter of timing. So if you have a shape that's starting to dry, coming back too late with wetter paint will push it outwards and create a bloom. I find that if I just do one quick passing of paint and it barely touches the edge that's still wet, it'll be fine for the most part. And I'm sure I can show you examples of this. By the way, here I painted the background and the hair and they blended together. Does this ruin it? To me, no. What ruins this painting is that it's incomplete and I have a lot of details to it. Here you see these areas blended together. What you can do when this starts to happen is simply come back with a drier brush than what you have on paper and just pass it over this edge and lift. You're going to have to do this several times. Lift, it'll move again, you lift again. 1 or 2, 3 times usually is enough. But sometimes you like this kind of effect and you're good with it. Same here. You see all of these little blendings? The thing is, if your values are on point, your colors are on point, your shapes are on point, a shape here and there that breaks due to paint moving will not ruin the painting one bit. That's the thing. If you took care of the rest, the shapes moving within is actually going to enhance it. See all these little effects? No one cares because when you zoom out, it looks good as an overall thing. What else can I find? Like a more annoying one. See, there's a bit of cauliflowers here, but it's nothing serious, that I will admit. Yeah, nothing too serious. This, for example, this can drive some people crazy. I love it. This is an uneven edge. and it's because of my timing. It's not, I didn't do it on purpose, right? I don't know, to me, it's not a big deal. But it's not a big deal because everything else works. Everything else, like the shapes, the colors, the whatever, everything works well, the values. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I tried to give an in-depth answer. So yeah. Ruth is here with us, by the way. Let me see if I can you can see her butt. Sweet doggo. She's having a good time. She's a little off the rails, this one. No, she's a good doggo, but it's, adjusting to a baby is not easy for them. But yeah, we try and give her as much attention as we can, but it's a challenge. So here's another one, by the way. You saw me paint this live. I don't remember if I posted it as a video too, but if I haven't, I should. It's a pretty good process. Caged Crow. I have trouble with greens. Green overtakes, but I love hot pink, lemon, yellow, and teal blue. Only colors I need. Yeah, if you your profile pic really checks out. It's really those colors. I get it. That's fine. Green is to be used with caution. So for example, this bottle is a little green, right? This is a bit of a neutral kind of green brown. If you use the same colors you used for the rest of the painting, like the same yellows and blues, it should be fine. The problem is a lot of people reach to their pre-mixed green, and the result is it has nothing to do with the rest of the painting. It sticks out. It doesn't belong there. It feels unnatural. If you mix your own greens and you use all three primary colors, there is no reason for the green to overtake, really. And even if we look at these paintings, like the green here is very mild. Again, it's just my yellow and blue. The green here is and this is a stronger green. This is more of a lemony yellow, so it's stronger. Look at this bit here. Pretty strong, but in the context, it looks good. Here, it's barely any. This is a brown, but it looks like a green because everything else is a little more cool. Yeah, I just don't have too many greens in this. But here, by the way, the green makes it. Like this is a peach, I believe. Without this green, this wouldn't be as close to as interesting as it is. By the way, I have no idea how this was created. Like this little gap and then it seeps in. That's so strange. I have no idea how I got this to happen. Yeah, sorry, I'm jumping fast through them. Okay. Josephine, I think that would help except for foreground and background. I hadn't given temperature much attention. I'll have to find that cat video. Yeah, it's if you just search for Liron watercolor temperatures, you'll find it. I think it will help. A lot of it is just contextual. Laura, question: can you look at paper and see if it is hot press or cold press? If there's paint on it, yes. For example, see these little dry brush marks. No, of course I know because I painted this. But yeah, usually I can tell. But if there's nothing on it, if it's just paper white, yeah, I won't be able to, especially if it's a scan. Now, if I look at it in real life, right, that I can pretty easily see the texture on. But yeah, generally speaking, yes, I can. Arvind, what about rough paper? Rough paper has an advantage. It's very easy to create a sense of texture, and I'm a big fan of rough paper. It's just more challenging sometimes. If you do want to get smooth, even washes, rough paper requires even more water because you're playing against the texture. I have this old video on my channel where I really struggled I used the brush pen, the one that comes with an internal little water well that you can take with you anywhere. And I really struggled painting on rough paper. It was so hard. I couldn't get the shape because it would you would see all these gaps due to the texture. That's the only thing I managed to do. And I had to pour more and more water until I actually you were able to see something. So just more water, but you get the benefit of more texture, right? And I love the look. I love the look of rough paper. Christina, your paintings are amazing. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Nia, when layering transparent watercolors, how do the optical properties of pigments, example staining versus non-staining, transparent versus semi-transparent, affect the final chroma and luminosity? It's a good question. Funny enough, I don't think I'm the right person to ask it because I just get used to what my colors do and use them intuitively. What I would guess is if you start with more transparent paints first, it will be easier to layer on top of them and still see. I guess if you paint with a somewhat opaque paint over transparent paint, it doesn't matter. The opaque paint will block out more of the paint underneath it, right? That's the end. That's the bottom line. The bottom line is the more opaque the paint is, the less you're going to see what's underneath. So if you use slightly opaque blue over red, you'll see more of the blue and less of the red. So maybe you'll get like a blue violet. Whereas if it was transparent, maybe you'll get a cleaner violet or a red violet. I think that's the extent of my knowledge. As far as I know, staining versus non-staining doesn't affect much of like the layering. It's more about how hard it is to lift. That's how I know it, at least. But I think someone can chime in with more understanding because I'm definitely not that person. I do feel it, when I use a different color that looks the same but has different properties, it does mess with the results I get. So I should probably be more familiar with the implications of these properties, though I'm not. Sorry about that. Christina, I want to practice watercolor more, but it's hard to gauge one's progress on cheap paper. However, ours is expensive. Any tips? Yeah, I think just use the expensive paper. That's the only real thing. Now, it is you can gauge your quality of understanding of the reference photo on a napkin. You can. You will be aware that some of the result is affected by the quality of paper, but I think if you just want to test your vision and your ability to, let's say I had a vision, this is how I wanted the scene to look, and I managed to paint it pretty much similar, even though the technique perhaps may be lacking, then I know that I'm making progress. If I manage to capture this reflection on this metallic reflective surface, or this little very gentle highlight reflecting the highlight on the bottle, or stuff like that, or this kind of shadow reflecting the pan, I know that my vision is good. Vision in terms of the thing I imagined in my mind, composition, whatever it is, my perception of the subject matter. It can be tested on cheap paper too. But sometimes you just have to fork out the money and work small paintings. Small paintings are still a measurement of skill. So I would, buy a sheet, not even a roll back then, cut it to 16 parts, and every part I would devote a lot of attention to. I'd end up with lots of really small paintings, and it does help. It does help gauge the progress and see a somewhat finalized result. Fuslower, Bruce McAvoy handprint site is a good reference for the properties. I didn't know who Bruce McAvoy was, but now I know. I know the handprint website. It's really good for the properties of different pigments, but in the end, nothing beats experience with the paints. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's a great website. I used to read on it a lot, but now I don't really care about that. I just kind of paint. And I'm sure it hurts some of my results. But pick your battles, as they say. If I were to really dive deeper into colors and the theory of the pigment's properties, I don't know. I barely have time to paint, so yeah. Wait a second. Messages jumped on me. Caged Cow hit the like for Liron because he's an awesome painter. Thank you so much. Jakub, what is the best way to start selling your own paintings? The best way is to have them be put in front of people who want to buy them. Anything that gets them in front of more eyes is good, whether it's social media, whether it's galleries. Now, the tricky bit is how to post content that people actually watch and how to actually get your paintings inside galleries. and into collectors' hands. That's the tricky part. It will depend on your type of art, what you paint, the style, the audience it's meant for. All of these things will influence it. The price range, all of these things will influence it. I will say one of the easiest ways to start selling really soon is to find a local art market, art fair, convention, and pay for a booth, because that gets foot traffic. So you're guaranteed people are going to see your work. And as long as you tailor your art to that event, so if it's a convention of some sort, comics, computer, like not computer, like just video games, Pokemon cards, whatever, trading cards, you tailor what you sell to that convention, and what you sell is of high quality, you will make sales for sure. Um, so that's a hack, if you will. A lot of artists make a large percentage of their income from these events. You know, it's one weekend or a few days, maybe in the middle of I completely lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? Yeah, so generally speaking, yeah, they make most of their income from fairs and whatnot, and from conventions. They just in 1 or 2 days make maybe 10% of their yearly income as artists, and they just do 10 of these conventions. Maybe they do 20 of these conventions to hit their goals. That's the fastest way, but your work has to be of sufficient quality, so that people want to buy it. Because if your work is really bad, no one will want to buy it. Now, again, art, subjective, yada yada, all of that. But still, some paintings are just not as good as others. And it doesn't even matter what genre they are. Like if it's an abstract, if it's a realistic painting, some supposedly realistic paintings aren't as good as some abstract work. It's a quality thing. It's very hard to tell, but usually you yourself know more than others. Christina, do you still? And let me know, by the way, if you end up applying this or if you manage to sell. I'm curious. Christina, do you still sketch before painting or just draw with paint? Oh no, I often sketch with pencil. Just when I feel like I'll draw with the paint, but I'll often not do any prep sketch. I really enjoy that kind of a thing. Here, it seems like I have done a sketch, but I remembered I haven't for some reason. Here's another one I really like. This one, I believe I haven't sketched a thing. Is that possible? I think so. I don't see any pencil lines. So this one was not sketched. I just went for it. Maybe that's a sketch. I don't know. Maybe I did put some lines just for the overall composition. It's funny that I don't remember, but it looks like I haven't sketched this one. So yeah, I often just don't, and the result ends up being good. Maybe I did like a really, really rough sketch, barely any details. This looks a bit like a pencil line. But yeah, most often I sketch with pencil, then I don't sketch, and then the least often is draw with the paint. Nancy, very nice painting. Thank you so much. Arvind, Christiana just bought a roll. I'm not sure what the Christiana is. We'll get to there. Just bought a roll of. Okay, you meant Christina. Probably just bought a roll of rough paper from Temu. It was 46 pounds for a roll size 37,000. Yeah, it depends on the brand, but I guess. So I bought a 10-yard roll for which is this size. No, it's not this size. 1,000 centimeters. Yeah, no. So mine was a 10-yard roll, and it was about 250 USD, something like that, or 250 pounds. I'm not sure. So yeah, that's the most economic way would be to buy a full roll. And then you can cut it to many, many, many small pieces. Buzzo, oh my God, finally managed to catch one of your streams. Hi, hope you're doing well. Thank you so much, Buzzo. And it's been a while since I've seen you here, so thank you. YouTube is finally pushing my streams. A lot of people have been like, "Yeah, I haven't seen your streams for a while, even when I was streaming more." I don't know what happens. It's We're all at the mercy of the YouTube gods. And yeah, your paintings are so beautiful. I've always wanted to paint with watercolors, like how you do paint, but I barely know probably how to use watercolor. I've only used watercolor for competitions, only for competitions. I mean, that's big, isn't it? Just for competitions. Is that the last one? No, there's more. What do you mean only? That's really good. Okay, so I think in about 15 minutes we're wrapping it up. So I'll try and get through all your comments and all the paintings. I don't want to be in a hurry, but I prefer to be in a hurry now and not later. So sorry about that. Caged Crow, 130 by 45 centimeter sheet cost 10 Canadian dollars. Is that 10.95 Canadian dollars? It's very similarly priced here. I remember buying a sheet for like 30 shekels. Very similar. Roll would be more effective, of course. L, you can use both sides of good paper. Of course you can, and of course I have for the first couple of years. Everything was painted on both sides. Yes, everyone, great tips. Happy it was useful, Christina. So this one, just again, what is this blue stain? I don't know, it worked. It reflects something. It looks good. I like it. Look at this power inlet. Just out of thin air. It's these small things when you actually allow yourself time to focus. Even if the whole thing is rough, you still get some of these beautiful little touches. Let's see. Diane Meadows, hope you and your family are doing great, Liron. You're an amazing artist and your skill in watercolor is next to none. Thank you. Wow, that's a huge compliment. Really appreciate it. Nancy, I hope you're filling your book with your words of watercolor wisdom. Yeah, definitely. It all goes in there. Thank you so much, Nancy. I can't wait to have more to show you. Yeah. I'm working on it, as fast as I can, which is slow, but it will be out. Give it a year or two. I don't know. It will be out. Arvind, brand Baohong Master got good reviews. Baohong is amazing. I really enjoyed it. I had John, by the way, I don't know if John is here, but he sent me some Baohong paper. It was chef's kiss. Really fun to work on. I believe one of them was rough paper. It was really good. Bazo, in my case, it's not the algorithm. It's just me not opening YouTube at the right time since it's mid-work day. Yeah, I get it. I'll try some different times. We'll see. Jan Marie, I came across photos of my paintings on my phone. They were beautiful. Sadly, I'd thrown them out because I was too critical. There you go. I have stopped being that way, thankfully. Don't throw your paintings away. Yeah, I think I have a video that says like don't throw anything out. Definitely. Cage Crow will look for your books on Amazon, right? Yeah, you can look for just search my name. Most of them might not be relevant. It's about more sketching and drawing, but the newest one, Painting a Masterpiece, that's relevant. There should be a link in the description box. There should be one. I'm not 100%, but there should be one. And that's my art book. You get to see a lot of cars. It's for my 100 cars challenge, but it's not just cars. The backgrounds are quite, I think, interesting too. So you'll like it, even if you're not into cars. So let's see. This is a good example of a painting of mine. You see, there's a date, luckily. Can you see this? 11th of June, actually, 2016. So what's that, 9 years ago? Almost exactly. And this is a painting where I did allow myself, one of these rare occasions where I allowed myself to really make the most out of it. And lo and behold, it's a standout painting of mine from back then. I was never really able to achieve this chiaroscuro effect before that. And when I look at it now, it's so funny how I would struggle just to produce this. But it still holds to me. It still looks really good. So I wanted to share like an older example, and this warmth here really is responsible for a lot of the beauty too. But I wanted to show something a little older. Look at how the shape of the shadow really tells the story of the face, like the cheek, and then there's this bit of a dent here. It's just everything connected. And I vividly remember working on this one and really allowing myself to make the most out of it, not worry too much about, expanding my wash or whatever. So I thought I'd share this. This is a bit of a newer one. Just a really cool, small sketch that I like. That a lot of it came from, again, that attention to one area. Same for all of these. This we can end on this one. But this is another one of these small ones. But again, if you if you zoom out a bit, check it out, right? It just looks fun and cute. So yeah, I really like it. I've only used watercolors for competing in my school level. No, that's fine. That's pretty impressive still. So yeah, but I'm looking forward to keep me posted on how it goes with watercolor and if you continue exploring them for yourself. Arvind, have you ever thought of doing workshops? Yes, I have in the future. I do teach on a limited basis and also here just a couple of students, but yeah. I hope to do like a proper one somewhere in the world. We'll see, and I'll let you know when I do. Caged Crow. Okay, I'll order it because you do great subjects. Thank you. I like cars too. Thank you so much. Nancy, cool old lady painting. Yes, you think what this one? Um, yeah, yeah, I like it a lot. Look at this little red here. Just enhances the whole thing to me. And this is opaque paint. By the way, talking about the influence of opaque paint, you can see it's painted over a darker paint and you don't see much of what's under it because it's opaque and you see it. But you can see, I think we'll end for today. Thank you so much for being here. I'd rather end it. I pushed it all the way that I can, so I'd rather an abrupt end than ending it early because I wanted to give you as much time as I can. But hopefully next week, same deal. I'm gonna do another live stream and be more consistent with them. And we'll see. Maybe I can do a longer one too. And yes, I do plan on testing out morning streams, my morning, so that you get to join in what is for the US at least around 10, 11 p.m. or maybe 8, 9 p.m. Right now, I believe it's close to that for India. So that's good, at least for that audience. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Casey, for being here. Dwayne, much appreciated. Oh, thank you so much, Dwayne. Yeah, I think you emailed me or messaged me about it, right? Super grateful for that. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Carmen. Hopefully I pronounced it correctly. Carmen S. Delight. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly. Cheryl, Dwayne, Sadia, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Till next time, take care.